guys, welcome back to the Funny Thing Is podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Birch, where every week we bring you a guest who shares a life-changing event, the medicine they took to get better, and the funniest lesson they learned along the way. Today I have a wonderful special guest. Okay, I'm going to introduce him. I want you guys to hear this. He is a 2-time Emmy-nominated TV producer, author, and performance coach. He is the author of a comedic and personal development book called All the Reasons I Hate My 28-Year-Old Boss. He started his career in entertainment as a production assistant on Undercover Boss and has produced on shows like Love Island, ladies, Big Brother, Dancing with the Stars. He most recently is the co-executive producer of Alien Encounters, Fact or Fiction on Discovery, and the upcoming All the Sharks on Netflix. In his spare time, he volunteers with inmates in the Los Angeles County jail system struggling with substance abuse issues. Welcome to the stage, Phillip Barbb.
Howdy. What's going on? I was like, you were reading. I'm like, do I look at you? Do I look at all?
You can look at any of these. You can look at me mostly.
I'll look at
you. But
you
feel free to spike. That's your camera, so you can spike that occasionally.
I will say when I love the green.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're missing an opportunity to like green screen in us on top of like a pirate ship. Like we should be like on a...
Because it's so green.
It's so green. I love it.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
So we met through Jen Sturger.
Yeah.
Amazing woman.
She's fantastic.
She said that you might have a life-changing event that you'd like to share. What you sent me is quite a few. So where would you like to start?
Where do we go?
I think we start early on. Do we start with your mom or before?
Let's go. Let's just dive in.
Okay.
And get ready. No, I think it's, so for me, I grew up in Metro Detroit, and I kind of always grew up, my dad was a cop, my mother was involved in school board, and I kind of grew up as a kid who, like, if anyone can relate to like the idea of like, you don't meet people.
Right.
That don't already have an idea of you, or you're knowing your parents or whatever, right?
Right.
And I remember from like a very young age, always kind of feeling that like
everybody knows everybody.
Everybody knows, and everyone knows my parents. So like I've got to be the cop's kid or the school board member's kid, right? So kind of early on diving into that like performance mode, which so many of us that are entertainment
do.
We do, and it's like what kind of propelled us to get to where we are, right? Like we enjoyed it, and, so for me, I think, kind of fast forwarding through a lot of years is, like growing up with just the normal insecurities, anxieties, am I cool enough, funny enough, smart enough, all of the different things that we're going through life. Also tag team with the fact that I grew up I was on a block with like a lot of kids that were older than me.
Right.
So as I developed friendships with them, and as they got into 15, 16, 17 years old and they start partying and doing stuff, like I'm like the 11-year-old kid getting dragged to parties and getting access
exposure
to like
early.
Exposure early to alcohol and to substances. And it was, 11's pretty crazy. And I have a lot of conversations with the police officer father about, hey man, what were you paying attention to? But like, I think a lot of parents aren't like, it's not really on your radar at those ages. Right.
Right.
And it's not like every single day, but it's like, you go on a camping trip or, you're away for, you find different find different pockets. Right.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, so for me, it was kind of like, as much as I love to say, it was just about fitting in, it was when that voice, that constant chatter of like, are you good enough? Are you fun enough? How should you say? How do you sit? How do you posture yourself? Oh, hey, is he looking at you? Is she looking at you? Like that brain that some of us has that doesn't turn off. And then I drink and I was like, oh, this is what just being in it is. I'm just in the moment.
Yeah.
And I think like subconsciously, like that was kind of what I enjoyed. Like
what were some of the substances?
For me, I was always a big alcohol guy. Like as much as I tried, like, I just never really like, I'm a little high energy.
Yeah. A little bit.
So like weed was never fun. Like when I smoked weed, it was like, I didn't want to smoke weed, dude, and like chill on the couch. Like I wanted to go. Like I was ready to rock. So like, and as I got older, it was like, I always joke like I wanted to be Stifler, right? I think I probably still do. But it was like the high energy, wanted to get into wild stuff, do stupid things, all of that.
Right.
And so for me, kind of where the story, like you're 11, 12, 13, starting to experiment with these things and starting to kind of develop a little bit of a like, oh, this is kind of where I can go. This is my where I can escape to. And then when I was 14, my mother was diagnosed with cancer. We had a 11-month battle, and then after like a week before my 16th birthday, my mother passed away.
Oh my God.
And so it was like going through that period of, you know, you have just the, you know, and like as I've gotten older, like understanding like the trauma of it, right? I think there's times where I have to kind of look back at me as like, not me, but like the 15-year-old version of me.
Yeah.
And like I can have empathy for him and be like, dude, yeah, you didn't know what was going on, trying to figure that out.
How
Like,
could you? Yeah.
and so that was kind of where things kind of really started to kind of take off for me, where it was like, it wasn't about like, it was no longer about, I want to get a little relief from the brain. It was,
yeah.
I just want out of wherever I'm at. I don't want,
out.
I just want to completely check out.
Mm-hmm.
And I had all this anger and all this confusion and all this sadness that because I had been wearing that mask of I'm the perfect little golden child. Like, look at me, do my thing. I do good in sports. I do my homework. You know, like I had so much energy underneath it that was like, I want to destroy things. I want to break things. I want to kick over the mic stand.
I want to, angry.
Exactly. Totally.
Yeah.
And so that was where I got a lot of that out. So it was a lot of, you know, destructive behavior, doing, you know, like, which like, I hate to say it. Sometimes it's fun to like get around old buddies that knew me and we reminisce about some stuff. And then there's times where a story will come up and you're like, oh, that's why I can't ever go back to being that dude. Like, yeah.
Like, don't tell that story, not that one.
That would be a problem.
Yeah.
And thank God we only had flip phones and it wasn't, and I don't have all this footage of it. But so, you know, where it kind of, you know, I got into, you know, and the problem is I was still having all of that, like the performative elements of life and being able to, you know, went to Michigan State University.
So you're still functioning.
Still functioning, right?
Yeah.
Like I graduated college in 3.5 years. Like I was grinded out in school, grinded out partying, grinded out trying to, you know, trying to work, like everything.
Work hard, party hard.
100. Yeah. And everything was just about like, you know, aggressive, take it to the max, do it, you know, and just bulldoze any emotions, right? Just act, do, achieve, try, you know, like, and keep everyone focused on like the shiny exterior and nothing
and then
deep
check
down,
out
right? And then totally check out. And then have the, you know, and it wouldn't be until like that 2:30 in the morning feeling where you're alone by yourself in your room where you're like, what the fuck am I doing? You know, like
when it gets quiet,
when it gets so quiet and the room's dark and you're just sitting there with, and like that's what I like of all the partying and like, sure, I've got memories and things, but like I have such a vivid memory of those like 3 a.m. moments of just like, what are you doing?
Existential dread.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And so for me, you know, it kind of, you know, at 18, you know, was speed racer, put my car into a wall on a freeway, got pulled over, doing that, got arrested there, got, you know, 19, 20, got arrested for alcohol related, you know, things, got into a bunch of fights, being, you know, if you couldn't guess, I was in a fraternity. And so got into a bunch of stuff, like got into a fight where I hit my head on like a metal prong in a basement and ended up with 7 staples in the back of my head.
Like, now what's your dad saying through all this? So your mom passed right before your 16th birthday.
Yeah.
So we're talking 4-6 years of
just kind of like
crazy.
going after it. And I think, you know, my dad was trying to kind of figure out what's going on. I think a lot of it was, you know, still keeping things under the radar, right? Like we all, you know, I think that performative element, you know, I always joke that, I shouldn't say I joke, but the funny thing is, I kind of developed like rehearsed vulnerability. So it was,
oh, tell me about that.
Okay. I knew how to talk about things in a way that made it seem like I was understanding it and very insightful. And you know, it's very difficult to, you know, lose your mom. And, but I'll tell you what, I have to just remember the good years. And I feel so grateful for the time we did have together.
Yes.
And
rehearsed vulnerability.
And so you learn that because what you learn is that if you completely shut down, it's red flags to people.
Yeah.
And if you steamroll it and you don't talk about it, that sets off red flags too.
Yeah.
So it's like, as a performative kid, you learn like, what do I need to say and do to get the response that I need, so you'll leave me alone long enough so I can go do the shit that I want to do.
Yeah.
And you'll stop paying attention to me.
Damn, that's brilliant.
And it was...
And terrifying as a mother.
It's yeah. Well, and look, the things that we do in the mindsets that we develop as kids is all out of protection.
Oh, absolutely. I used to do that stuff all the time.
Yeah.
I'd be like, okay, I could have these but I never had a name for it. But yeah, that's exactly what I used to do. Cause you're like, just let me do my own thing.
100%. And so like, that was kind of, and it was, so, crashed the car 18, did got into the couple of things, graduated Michigan State semester early, was getting ready to move to LA, was so excited about this, like, I'm gonna get to LA, I'm gonna be like,
that's crazy.
All that. And then 11 days before I got ready to move, I got pulled over and got a DUI. And it was I always laugh because it was like it was in the police, like in the city where my dad was a former police chief.
Oh, shit.
From the newest cop on the force that didn't recognize my last name. And so like, there were other cops that were showing up and like, dude, that's Barb's kid. What are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm so grateful. I actually had an opportunity after I got a year sober and actually ran into that cop and was able to like thank him.
Dude,
for
I
doing what
got
he
a
did.
DUI when I was 21 and I remember hugging the cops.
Yeah.
And we went to court. Yeah.
Totally. And it was like, because I needed it. Like I knew, that 3 a.m. Phil knew something was wrong.
Yeah.
My dad was terrified for me to leave to go to California.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
But I think he also, knew he didn't want to like try to hold me back and make me want to go even more, even further. And,
right.
I think I put my dad through a lot of the back and forth of understanding like how hard, like how much, like, and, I had times where my dad had thrown me out of the house when I was in college. I was no longer allowed back to my childhood home because I had tried to fight some neighbors when I was drunk and I didn't remember it. Yeah. Just some crazy like stuff.
By the way, are you an only child?
No, I have an older sister.
Okay.
And and she's great.
How did she go through all of it?
So it was so it was my sister's senior year of high school. So okay. I think it was very very brutal for her to like, you're getting ready to graduate and then all of a sudden, your mom is gone and then going off to college and then trying to like navigate this new
adulthood.
Yeah. And so I will say like me and my sister, for as much as you'll see cute, like we have all the cute photos of us growing up and blah, blah, like we battled hardcore, like most siblings do, right? But like
absolutely.
We battled really hardcore. And when I was drinking a lot and partying a lot, and like, especially when we were in that college age where like I'd go out to, stay with her at her, like we weren't friends.
Yeah.
Right. Like we were siblings but we were not friends. Right. And like, it wasn't until I got sober that we developed such a strong relationship now. And I'm so grateful for her because she's been such an amazing rock and support system for me. But like, but on the flip side, I had things that I had to go through and deal with my own resentments.
Right.
Because I think 15-year-old me, 16-year-old me saw a sister who confided in her friends. Mm-hmm. And, I had seen myself as, my mother, I love her to death, but she, hey man, parents make mistakes. And I remember one of the tough things that I remember her saying as she was passing away, was, she was like, hey, be strong, like support your dad, be there for your sister. Like, and I can appreciate any mother that would say that to their kid, right? Like, hey, kind of that, like, be strong. I took it so much to heart that it was like, I have to be here for my dad. I have to be here for my sister. Oh. And then there was like no one there, or I thought there was no one there for me, right?
Right.
And part of that was because I'm wearing this mask, right? Like, it's like, that's the crazy thing about the mask is like, I desperately want somebody to like put their arm over me, hug me and help me and be there. But then the mask and the rehearsed vulnerability is keeping me separate from people.
Right.
Because I'm just like, oh, there's so much disconnect. Right. And, I promise we'll get to the funny stuff at some point, guys. But yeah, so it was just, my sister was, like I said, I had to deal with some of the resentments of that, of like feeling like, oh, she went off to college, right? How dare she go live her life, right?
Well, also, I think it's also important because we had Matt Guternach on the show, and he lost his mom when he was 14. And he also didn't go through puberty till college.
Okay.
Which was weird. He was like, it was like I looked 12 at 18.
That's wild.
It's wild.
Yeah.
And so he's like going through that, and he goes, and he had a sister, I believe, and they both went through it completely differently.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's hard for siblings when you're like, how could you go through it this way when I'm like a powder keg waiting to explode?
Yeah.
And you're just sad. Because he was like, I was sad, she was angry.
Yeah.
And so it's just interesting. Like, even if you're in the same household, each kid's going to take it completely differently.
And I think it was also just, for me, I look at it now, right? My mother passes away in January, and then my sister's 18.
Yeah.
And then she graduates in May, and then she's gone in August.
Yeah.
Right. And so it was in that 6 months after is a whirlwind of like, you're just trying to
get grounded.
Yeah, you're just trying to get through it, and trying to get past it, And I think that was, we could talk a little bit about that later, but just that idea of like, it was like, all right, I just got to get through this. How do I get through this, get through school, get to college, get to LA, get into my career, and put this whole thing behind me.
Yeah.
Right. Put it all in my rear view, man. It's gone.
Yeah.
And, so, breaking your mic. So as we get through, 11 days before I move, I get the DUI. I get court ordered into AA, which I think like I also started going to AA as soon as it happened. I had two things. I remember walking home from the police station, and I had to call a friend who was going to do the road trip with me out to LA. And I called him and I go, hey man. And I'm like, dude, like, bro, we can't go to LA now. That's my voice. And I go, he goes, what happened? And I lost it. And I go, dude, I get bawling. Right. And it was like all this emotion of
pouring
like,
out.
And it was like, you're building the perfect life. Keep building, keep doing the things, do it perfectly. You're going to move, you're going to do it. Everything's going to be fine. You're going to get past this. And then it was this like, just a real moment of like, bro, you're broken.
Yeah.
You're broken.
How'd your friend respond?
And I think he hung up. I think he was scared. No, he's still, I was the best man in his wedding. Like he's been one of the, just such a great dude.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, and so I started going to AA because I knew they'd court ordered me. And I'm like, all right, well, if I do this, the judge will think that it looks good, that I'm already taking this serious. All of the like performative, what do I need to do?
Yeah.
And then I got to AA, and it was, so much of my life was always about proving everything. I needed to prove that I was funny and smart and good at sports, and that I was cool, all the things. And then I got into a room where like everyone is starting from a place of like, yeah, we fucked up.
Yeah.
There's no like, hey, who's the coolest guy at the AA meeting?
Right.
There's none of that. It's like, hey, we've all like, none of us get here on a winning streak.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And there is a realness and a rawness to walking into a room of people where they are like, I've got problems. I'm trying to fix them. I'm here to help you fix them. Up until a point, it gets in the way of me fixing my own thing, but I'm here to support you. And it has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
And it has everything to do because I'm trying to build a better life for me. So I want to offer you kindness. I want to offer you grace. I want to offer you advice. And if you want any of it, awesome. And if you don't want any of it, cool. Because I'm going to be here either way.
Right.
And there's like we're in a world that feels so transactional with our time, with our emotions, with everything, right? That walking into a room where people were just like, hey man, yeah, take a seat. How you doing? Yeah. And listening and really.
And get like, I've been to Al-Anon. And so, which is
amazing.
The one if you're
such an amazing
related
thing.
To somebody.
Yeah.
But, and that was like the first time I walked in a room, I was explaining a scenario, which is so weird because my mom just recently asked me, she's like, wait, was I the reason you went to Al-Anon? And I was like, no, but she liked to marry guys that were, and by the way, my stepfathers were great and I love them. they had a drinking problem.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't like they were abusive to me or anything. It was just like, oh, it creates that thing. And then I realized, oh, I actually went because of my stepmother, who's not necessarily an alcoholic, but she's a narcissist.
Yeah.
And so a lot of those mimic each other in certain ways.
Oh, totally.
But they're also completely different. And so I remember speaking at my first meeting and I didn't have to explain anything because everybody was like, yeah, I remember they all just started nodding. And I was like, oh, I don't have to go into detail and explain what's happening when I'm doing this.
Yep.
They're just like, yeah, we get it.
Which is like such an underestimated like feeling of not just like of the acceptance, but of the understanding. Like I remember dating for a long time for me after I had been sober for a while was tough.
Yeah.
Because there were times where like, you know, I tell my story and I'm very open about my story. And there were times where I didn't like that it was met with, and this is going to sound like with admiration. Right. Like it's like, I didn't want to, I'm like, am I manipulating my story to sound more evolved than I am? Like, right. And when I would get around people that just got it, there was no like, oh my God, you're so brave, or that's so amazing. Or, oh, it was just like, oh yeah, man, fuck dude. I get it. Yeah. And it's like, that was what I want. It's like, same. It's like, same. I don't want to be special because, and it's even, I'll be honest, it's, you know, it's even something I still think about even now as I talk about my story a lot, or as I share it a lot, is like, man, how much do I want to be the guy talking about his mom who passed away 20 years ago? Yeah. How long am I going to keep talking about like, I've been sober 17 years. Like, come on, bro. Like, and I deal with that. And then I'm like, oh, that's not the point. You know, the point is to be able to provide and offer those moments to someone where it can go, oh, that's what I'm feeling, or oh, that's what I relate to that, or oh, and providing the understanding and the acceptance of these situations. Mm-hmm. And I think that was, and you know, I feel super grateful that I did get it at, like, I got sober at 22. Yeah. And great. Before I came to LA, I think about that all the time.
Imagine like, you got saved.
Like getting here. Yeah. And like, I didn't have much money when I moved here. I had even less money a year earlier. Yeah. When like, I'm like, what was your plan? Yeah. Dude? What was your plan?
Couch surfing on the streets. Yeah.
Yeah. But so, yeah, I mean, and then I became I still am active in AA, still go. My home group.
I was curious about that because we've had people on that have tried AA. They've done it for a while. Yep. Then we've had somebody that's still on it like 40 years later. Yeah. So like, what's that process for you?
And it's fun. I remember going like the first couple of times, and you'd see people and they're like getting their chip, right? And they're like 20 years sober and being like, fuck, dude, like if I'm here in 20 years, like this shit don't work. Like I'm here to get in and get out. I want results. I don't need this. I don't need this. I want the one thing I can do that's going to fix me.
So I can get
and now I've seen and I've gone through waves, right? There's been waves where like you go through like the pink cloud they joke about where it's like everything just, oh my gosh, everything is so much beautiful and bright and I'm seeing life in a whole new way. Yeah. And then there's the like, wait, what the fuck? Why am I still dealing with this stuff? Like, why am I still dealing with the same issues? Like, what's going on? You know? Yeah. Then there's the times where you're like, oh man, life is really good. I want to be there to be of service to others. And then there's times where I'm like, fuck, dude, I need a meeting. I need a meeting now. Yeah. Or
when you get that feeling where you're like, I need a meeting, is it because you need a drink or because you're like like what is that?
I haven't really thought about having a drink in a long time. Right. I drank because of my head. Right. You know? And it's like, oh, that voice is getting loud. Or I joked that like that young me is a very small piece of my personality, but he is there. Yeah. And when he shows up, he's loud. And he's banging pots and pans in the kitchen and he wants my attention and he wants someone to play with him and he wants to get out and he wants to fuck shit up. Yeah. And he's entitled and he's selfish and he doesn't care and his problems are the most important problems. And that's when that gets activated, right? When I start getting into that kind of like what some therapists call like the adaptive child,
Right.
that kid that created these things. When he shows up, like he wants attention. And I have to remind myself like, yo, man, like there's not a 13-year-old kid in this world that I would take life advice from. So stop listening to this kid. Stop listening to this kid,
Yeah.
And it's like, be the grown-up. But I also know that going into a room with other people and it's like, I'll go to a meeting and it's like very rare that, some guys will talk about alcohol and whatnot, but like one of my big meetings I go to is a solutions meeting. It is 35 guys going around a circle talking about the stuff that worked for them. What's keeping me sober? What's the solution?
That.
And we start every meeting where we're like, we know what the problem is. What's the solution?
Yeah.
And it's like, they say what most people only need to learn something once, but they need to be constantly reminded.
Yeah.
I'll go in there and there'll be days where 4 guys will share about being humble. And I'm like, that's why I came today. That's what I needed. I needed to hear about being humble, Phil. Or there's days where I'm like, I needed to be reminded to meditate. I needed to be reminded that to pray, or I'm listening to guys, or sometimes it is just good. Sometimes it's good to listen to people bitch.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's good to walk into a meeting where the world is crumbling around you and you walk in and someone's dealing with like their wife who has cancer.
Some real heavy shit.
Or their daughter who is, having issues at school.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also great to go in there and see guys that are thriving and seeing a dude who's like it.
It also reflects the waves that people go through.
100%. And I think the one thing that changed for me after a while was that I used to, even in AA, I was very performative in those early years. I was very like, I'm a young person in LA or in AA. Here comes my great 2-minute share. I hope everyone is so proud.
Dude, my pink cloud phase, which I didn't think you could get an Al-Anon.
Yeah.
But I was like, my pink cloud phase lasted so long where I was like, I could probably, at one point I was like, I wonder if I could be somebody's sponsor. And I was like 3 months in.
Oh yeah.
I was like, girl, sit down.
It's awesome. But it happens, right? And we get those feelings and it's, that's so funny. Yeah, I forget where I was going. It was somewhere amazing though, guys.
Oh, the waves.
And I think being able to watch other people, it work for them, it not work for, or like what's working, what's not working, how are they navigating? There's some guys that like, there's just, you feel something different about them. Mm-hmm. They always say like stick with the winners. Like you can sit in a room, you can feel the people that like that dude's got peace.
Yeah,
that guy
absolutely,
has peace.
absolutely.
That person, and you can tell the people that are still, which I always laugh. Like I'm probably still the guy that like I'm up and down at times when I go in there, and I think a lot of it is like I just like being very raw about like whatever's going on.
Right.
And I've gotten away from like, how do I turn my 3-minute platform into like me showcasing or educate? It's like, no, I go in there for what I need. If I need to share something, I need to talk about something, just put it out there and like, let it go. Mm. But I've had a lot of people I talk to that like are sober or have in AA wasn't their thing. And I'm not like, hey, you have to only do it one way.
Well, it's like what you said at the beginning. You're like, when you first went in, it's like, hey, I've got some advice from you. If you want it, I'm here. If you don't, I'm still going to be here.
Exactly. And I think, for me, it was like, AA was a catalyst. I've also done, I love reading. I love studying psychology and, think and, understanding ourselves, why we do the things that we do, the deep stuff. I think that community is huge. Like I have my cigar group of guys. I've got my AA buddies. I've got my faith-based buddies. I've got my entertainment friends. And I try to be, I've tried to be very deliberate about understanding what are the things that I need to feel like I am connected to people, because, connection is such an answer, obviously, for the isolation at times. And like, I know I need my alone time, but like too much of it is dangerous. Too much of it is, it can be, difficult for me. And even, the one thing, I mean, I do therapy, I have coaches, I believe in having a lot of different things to help grow. But I will say the one really strong thing that I love about like AA or any type of group format is for someone like me who is kind of at that core, a little bit selfish, self-centered, it's all about me, blah, blah, blah. Therapy one-on-one therapy can kind of reinforce that, right? It's my problems.
Yeah.
We're talking about me.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking at me. It's focus on me. It's my emotions, what's going on. And I don't know why I'm doing, this is what I do in therapy.
Yeah.
But it's
Clutching my pearls.
right? But I need to have the other group aspect that helps. Like, I love therapy, and I've had some amazing, really deep breakthroughs in therapy with my therapist.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very grateful for her. But I think if I had started there, if I had just started in a one-on-one environment where everything was focused on me, for my personality and where I was at, I don't think it would have been as effective as me placing myself in a group environment where I was able to get probably not as depth. I wasn't getting the depth of what I get in one-on-one therapy.
Yeah.
But I was getting so much more of a well-rounded,
broad perspective.
that I think
that's
helped.
actually really brilliant. I've never thought about that. I do know, like, recently, because I've been going to the same therapist for a while. And again, so many breakthroughs. She's been with me through, like, getting pregnant from a one night stand, like having the baby, co-parenting. Now we're moving. Like, and like each thing is like a huge life change or a big decision. But recently it's been that kind of thing where I'm like, how much do I need it every other week still?
Yeah.
But like you said, you like dipping into a bunch of different things. You have different groups, you have different things. I think it should be a collaborative process with other. Yeah.
And I think it's, I kind of joke. I was like, I need time to live. I need time to go make some mistakes so that I can come back to you.
Yeah. And she said that to me before. Like, there was times I think I've taken, like, in the last, I don't know, 7 years, I think, where we did like 6 months. Didn't see her for 6 months. And then I was like, boy, do I have some stuff for you. Updates. I got some updates.
I will say, even there were times where it's like, sometimes I would process a lot outside of the sessions, right? Like journaling and then like, and she would laugh. She was like, you left the last session like kind of in a frenzy and then you came back
and you were fine.
And you were fine. And you would like found, and I guess in some of that is like, I have to appreciate like my own habit of turning mountains into molehills sometimes, right? Or molehills and whatever.
Yeah.
Cut that. No, I'm kidding.
No, it's okay. I get every cliche wrong, so it's fine.
But it's like, I really, the one thing that was very helpful of when I went into with my therapist to first meet, and I'm a nerd with it. Like I went online, I looked at 100 different like profiles, narrowed it to like 50 like websites that I looked at, like just quick scans. I mean, I was like, I don't like that you use Comic Sans on your website. You're out. Like that type of stuff. I was like, like
when picking your therapist,
100%. So I was like on Psychology Today. I look at all these things. I'm like, all right, do I like anything? All right, like then all these website tabs, and then I'm going through the tabs. And I was like, I don't like your font. I don't like that photo. Plants. Get out. No, and I'm just like wiping through these people. And then I think I reached out to like 17 of them.
Yeah.
Got on the phone with like maybe 8 or 9.
Right.
And to get a vibe, because I knew what I was kind of looking for.
It is like dating.
Yeah. And because you want somebody that you're going to be able to be real with and that you're going to vibe with. And like, I knew that like someone, Phil, that was going to talk, like, nah, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Like, that's not me.
Yeah.
Like,
I need it in my face.
Be real. Yeah. Like, it was crazy that like, I was like, no, I want a woman because I know that I have a lot of like strong men in my life. I want her to be like, caring and empathetic, but also like call me out on my bullshit. And I'm like, bro, you're looking for your mom.
Yeah.
And, but so I found a great therapist, and my first session, I remember her going like, all right, so, it's first kind of time and just for me to get to know you. And I go, well, get ready. And I pulled out a sheet of paper and I go, here are the 10 most embarrassing or shameful things I've ever done in my life. Here are 5 themes that keep showing up in my life we should probably talk about. And here's a bunch of stuff that I, have a bunch of shame and guilt and all this thing about. And I read her the whole list. And I told her, I was like, and a lot of it was because I've done a lot of the work through AA and my inventories and stuff. But I was like, I don't want to develop a relationship with you and then start self-editing myself because I'm trying to be performative, or I'm trying to come off as being this great person.
Right.
Or even I don't want any slight hesitation of, should I tell her this or not?
Yeah. I need to be able to say it.
I want to just put like, I go, it is the equivalent of being like a young kid at the movie theater and you're nervous to put your arm over the,
Yeah.
and you're like, put your arm over and now you're in the clear. It was like, that was my putting my arm over in the clear. I was like, you've got all the most embarrassing shit. You're a stranger. I don't know you, but you know all the craziest stuff that I've done. Obviously, we're not going to get all to it in, 60 minutes, but at least I know you have access to this.
Yeah.
So I don't need to self-edit and I don't need to try to protect something because that's what I do when I'm activated.
Right.
When I'm in a space of like, don't tell them that, dude. Don't say that because then
it'll scare them off.
Then they're going to think that you're not actually as good as you're trying to portray. They're going to actually see who you really are. They're going to know that you're still that. Is
this person still your therapist?
Yeah.
Love
she's
it.
great. Yeah.
Love
She's
it.
fantastic.
What was her response, by the way, after you gave her the list?
She was, I think she was like, definitely surprised because she was like, that's not, that doesn't really happen. But I think she totally understood where I was coming from. And I think that was something else that was like, even when there's a lot of things that you go through like with sobriety where while it is always one day at a time and there's no hierarchy of like, oh, I've got 15 years versus the guy that's 20. Like I've met guys that got 30 years that are assholes, right? So there's not, but there are new, I don't want to call them levels because it's not a video game, but there are different categories you get into or phases you get into of where you're at trying to get 30 days sober, where you're at, or where you're at when you're like 10 years in or 12 years in. Like we always there's a lot of times where you'll hear, there's milestones where you hear a lot of relapse. Right after 5 years is really bad. A lot of people relapse after 5 because 5 is such a big number. Yeah. I'm going to get 5 years sober. And then you hit it and you go, oh, fuck, you're still the same. Like it was just another
the
day,
same issue.
Right? Yeah. 7, 11. I know a lot of people that went out after 16 years.
Have you relapsed?
I've been very lucky.
Yeah.
That I've just stuck to the program. And also I think I have enough of obviously I have a lot of times where I'm like, dude, you were such a young kid. Like you're probably so much different now if you drank and you could handle it. And then I see the way I smoke cigars and I'm like, nah, bro.
Nah, bro.
I see how I work out. Nah, bro. Like you are that guy. No one needs 2 scoops of pre-workout. Also, no one needs 2 scoops of pre-workout. And then before you leave the door, you just scoop a little bit. You dump it in. You're going to lose. These are not real stories. They are. I'm that kid. I'm still that guy that has those
addictive tendencies.
Addictive tendencies. And just the like, that little bit of like, fuck it.
Yeah.
That moment where you're like, wow, what's another cigar? What's another one? And that is, look, I also had to appreciate like I can't be like this action figure like in the box. Like I'm gonna have vices. You gotta have, right? Like you have to have the release, right? Like what is it? The Carl Jung thing of like, you've got the shadow in you, and if it's not finding ways out, it's gonna somehow come out and explode, right? But yeah, I know that, and I've been humbled, and my ego tells me I'm fine.
Right.
But I've been humbled enough. I mean, I remember I was speaking at a jail, a women's jail here in LA, and one of the other women on the panel with me, she relapsed at 16. 16 years she had relapsed. And it's like, and every now and again, you'll hear somebody talk about like, oh yeah, well then this really bad thing happened. But that's not normally the relapse.
It's not. It's like a normal day.
A lot of people, it's everything is going really well. And you start feeling yourself. You start thinking like, oh man, I don't really need this shit. Like I think and then you stop going to meeting. It's like the
bipolar medication. Yeah. I'm like, feeling great. I don't need to be on it anymore.
It's like the joke of, how does a company go bankrupt? It's like very slowly, then all of a sudden at once.
Yeah.
Like it's like, how does divorce happen? Very slowly, then all at once. And it's the same thing. Like how does relapse happen? Very slowly. You stop going to meetings, or you stop doing the things that work. You stop talking to people about it. And then all of a sudden you're there one moment and you're like, oh, fuck it.
Yeah.
And so I know that oh, fuck it, Phil is still
there.
Mm-hmm. And so I've got to do the stuff that keeps him right sized. Now there's a lot of, there's also a lot of times that like that guy has helped me be a good producer, has helped me be a good coach. Like I can appreciate it where people are coming from and I can, help walk a path. Or if I'm working in TV, it's like sometimes you need to have that. You can't always play by the rules. You can't always wait for an answer. Like it's helped me, but I have to be appreciative of like, where can it help me?
Yeah.
And like, who's in control of it? And I think that's the big thing is like these the personality traits or what, am I in control of them?
Right.
Or are they controlling me?
Okay. I have a question for you. So I asked you like what the funniest thing is. And you kind of touched on this a second ago, but you put the funny thing is, despite my passion for helping others and my dedication to personal development, my default setting is asshole.
Yeah.
Is it?
No,
because you
I don't think so.
You don't seem like it.
I don't think it is. I think it's more the desire to be an asshole.
Yeah. Okay. Tell me about that.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that there is I want to help. Like at my core, like I love helping people and I love being there to support others. And at my core, I love that. But then there are times when the entitled kid comes out who's like, why do you got to do all this good shit? Why do you got to do all these things? Why do you always make the right decision? And then you don't get it back, right? Like you don't get it back, that entitled part.
Yeah.
And so it's like, then it's like, that's the part where kind of like, I'm like, I wish I were an asshole. Like, I wish I didn't give a fuck.
Oh
right?
yeah, I get that.
I'm like the cat who's like moving the
stuff off the ledge.
You watch it, and then I knock it over and I pick it up. And I go, I'm really sorry about it, but like I needed that, like it's. And so there is at times that desire to be, to want, like that Joker side of you that's like just want to watch the world burn. Do I want that? Of course not.
Right.
And I don't want that, but I think the awareness of it is like, dude, that's what you're doing. Right. Rather than me going out and actually behaving in that manner, like I can appreciate how it kind of creeps in, and hopefully stay on top of it.
I also love how like well-versed, like you talked about Carl Jung, like how well-versed you are on all the psychology stuff. Cause like that helped me through a lot of stuff. I did almost to the point where you start deep diving. Yeah. And mine was more with like narcissism and like being, cause I was the enabler, which is why Al-Anon helped me because I was enabling a narcissist. Yep. So with that, I was like, oh, well, now I want to learn about different aspects and personalities and how they change and attachment styles and all that stuff. And again, that became my vice, which is obviously better than the drinking and all this stuff.
Well, I think it's helpful to be able to, like the empathy is important. Mm-hmm. Holding our own boundaries is really important, right? There's a lot of, the funny thing is when you read a book and you're like, the natural tendencies, you read a story and you're like, oh, that's like my buddy this, right? Oh, that's this that must have happened. But there was a great book I read by a therapist and it was called The Gift of Therapy. He had written it. He had been a therapist for 40 years. Yeah. And he wrote like a book to like new therapists, like a year in, 2 years in. And one of the biggest standouts for me was he talked about like, you're going to want to help. You're going to want to diagnose. Stop. Mm-hmm. Slow down, especially as someone that's new. And I see it all, like, look, we see it all the time. Like someone goes to one Tony Robbins, Tony Robbins event, and now all of a sudden they're, they want to tell everyone how enlightened they are, or they want to fix you, or they read a little story and they're like, oh, I'll tell you what your attachment style is. And oh yeah, she does that. And this is exactly how she's going to behave because of this thing, blah, blah, blah.
It's a different version of Pink Cloud.
100%. Yeah. And it's like, wait, we're complex people. We're, like Good Will Hunting, the moment when, Robin Williams' character is looking at Matt Damon's, he goes, do I for 1 second act like I know what it is like and what it's like to be you because I read Oliver Twist, because I knew one little element, or I read a paper about it, or even you read one book. Like people read thousands of books to try to understand different things and how we operate. Yeah. And the goal is always to be able to help people, not to like put people in a box. Yeah. None of us like that. None of us want to be told like, oh, well, you're doing this because of this. Or like, And also, but the flip side, and I know I'm kind of jumping all over, but like we can't use what we learn about ourselves as an excuse to enable bad behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, for me, I grew up in a police officer household. Black and white thinking was something that kind of was very absolutely strong, right? There's right, there's wrong, there's this, there's that. It's either this or this. And you start to become these really extremes. It was super helpful to learn about that, to be able to label what I was experiencing.
Mm-hmm.
But if I had stopped and been like, well, hey, I mean, I'm black and white thinking. So that's just how it is because like I was raised that way. It's like, no, dude. You've identified a certain cognitive distortion that you have.
I love compartmentalizing. It makes me feel safe. Right? I know. And like my therapist is like, okay, we're going to be in the gray area here. And I'm like, I hate the gray area. I don't like the gray area. It's not safe for me. But then, you know, that's the therapy part where you sit in it.
And that's the part. And then that's where we go, all right, I know that I have, you know, I know that have a tendency to dive back to this thing. So I'm going to pump the brakes on it, recognize where I'm at,
relax,
kind of get outside of it and realize like, oh, that's not true. That's not right. I have other options. Mm-hmm. And it's not just like, well, this is just how I am. And this is what I am dealing. And it's like, that is
top of like self-actualization.
Yeah. What do you want to die? I mean, I could talk forever, but I know we
gotta, I want you to tell me about this book. I want you to,
Oh yeah.
How did this come about? You said it was before the
pandemic, right?
So you actually wrote it. Kellen Lutz.
Yeah, Kellen. Oh yeah, Kellen's great, dude.
Gave you a shout out. Okay, on the book. Okay, so tell me about that.
Yeah, Kellen's a good buddy. But yeah, so honestly, the book started as I wrote the title on a Post-it note. And I was like, which is something we do in television, right? You're coming up with ideas and you get, and sometimes you start with a title. You're like, what would this TV show be?
By the way, this title is right up my alley.
It's
like
fun,
the first play I wrote was like the 7 Guys You Date Before You Get Married. And like, it's just something that you're like super marketable. Yeah. I love it.
And so with the book, I wrote all the reasons I hate my 28-year-old boss. I wrote it on a Post-it note and then, kind of shelved it for a moment. And then I was writing a lot. I was reading a lot and writing a lot and was just a lot of things and then all of a sudden I was like, if I wrote a book, like what would that be? And then it kind of started as like, all right, ageism, we have so much clash of like Gen X versus Gen Z and Alpha and the millennials and the baby boomers. And like me, my dad, obviously baby boomer, me being a millennial, we always would kind of like get into fun arguments about stuff. And I was like, all right, like what would that be? And while I was like, we're not going to solve, look, are there differences? Yes. Like we're raised at different times. Right. There are a lot of cyclical natures of the way that different generations operate. Are we all going to be the same? No. And that's part of the beauty of the diversity of us is being able to learn and pick and choose from each other. Like when I got to AA, it was, a 22-year-old kid who like respected my elders enough to not push you down the stairs, but I didn't think you had anything for me.
Right.
And then I ended up being able to learn and grow so much from 50, 60, 70-year-old people share. So I was like, I wanted to do something that wasn't about like how we're all different, but like, and not even like, how do we change this big thing, but as on an individual level,
right?
What are some mindset tips that you can like help yourself navigate the workplace?
Great.
And so that was kind of the idea for the book. And it was fun. Yeah. We did the book launch event in December of 2019.
Oh my gosh.
And it was awesome, right? We did it in Detroit where I'm originally from, had a lot of friends.
I love
but
that.
We always laugh that like my tagline at the moment was 2020 is yours. And that did not age.
It's almost like survive till 2025. It's almost like that
where you're like, so hopeful, and then you hear it and you're like, I want to strangle whoever came up with this.
And then it started with fires and now we have protests.
It's pretty wild. Yeah. So if anything though, like we have no way of controlling all of the outcomes and the circumstances, but we have a lot of tools out there to be able to try to navigate, and not only navigate our own selves, our own mindsets where we're at, but how do we create a life where we're able to be of service to other people.
Mm-hmm.
And because I think that there's moments where I get strength from others, I'm able to provide strength. Like that's the beauty of connection. And I think that, not trying to be, like key, buzzword, but like AI is taking elements of that and it's manufacturing connection in other ways.
Right.
And it's like how I've felt about like a lot of online communities for even sobriety. I think it's great that it provides access to people that weren't getting access, but it can be a crutch.
And it shouldn't be the only thing that you're using.
And so it's like being able to like learn the tools, grow. How do we grow, support ourselves while also being able to like show up for other people in a big way?
Yeah.
It makes all of life so much more fantastic and better when we're able to keep things in perspective, and be able to share and support each other, because I think that that's what life is. It's not just our job titles and all the check marks of life that, the achievements or the, all of or the bio or the, the different things.
It's the human experience.
It's the human experience that
connection
that we have to, we don't have enough people because it's not sexy all the time. Right. But we've got to be able to like step back and just like sit in moments with people. Right. And just enjoy time with one another. So
yeah. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Why don't you tell people where they can follow you?
Phillip Andrew LA on TikTok, Instagram. I got a website, phillipbarbb.com, if you want to connect with me. Yeah. And yeah, I'm always happy to connect. And also just, if you've stayed this long, thank you so much. And definitely like and comment and share on your podcast. Yeah. It's always helpful. The almighty algorithm. We're all,
Are you cool with people reaching out with you if they've got sobriety questions?
Of course.
I love that.
Yeah. Reach out with anything. Yeah. Okay. Just, don't send me your TV show ideas. It's probably already been pitched.
Yeah. No? I was like, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. All right. Thank you so much for doing it.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. All right, guys. We'll see you again next week. As always, you can follow me at The Funny Thing Is Podcast or at Nicole Birch Comedy or NicoleComedy.com. And I'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.